I'm going to take up a topic which was supposed to be taken by Dr. Anita. She will add up to the topic tomorrow. She'll take it for another half an hour tomorrow. But just to, because it's in the schedule, and if you allow me, I will take up the topic right now for another half an hour, if that's fine with you. Can you please put up in the chat box if you want me to continue with this topic? Just half an hour, guys. Okay, put up in the chat box, please. Yeah, can you check the chat box if they say yes or no, because I can't see.
Yes, sir.
So, okay, they're saying yes. Fine.
Yes, sir.
Okay, great enough. So we'll be talking about quick fix, about questionnaire designing. And that is one topic which is taken by most of the researchers because they feel it's very easy, it's very simple. And during this lockdown, a lot of people have done a lot of research, which includes questionnaire. You will be getting Google form links into your WhatsApp number or to your SMS. And then you are supposed, yeah, yes.
Your voice is not clear.
Not clear. Okay. Is it clear now?
Yeah.
Okay. So you would have done a lot of questionnaire study. Probably some of you would have done. Somebody are planning to do a questionnaire study or something like that. I'm going to tell you a little about questionnaire designing, how to design questionnaire, what kind of questions you are supposed to keep, and all those things, because this is a fundamental research. It becomes easy, and this is one of the simplest form of research where you get information regarding some topic through a questionnaire. You give them the questionnaire and they'll fill it up and give it back to you. So, and this is the most common one which is being done in a research format. So first of all, why the question is important, why the questions are important. It's important for you to ask questions. Whenever you do a research, you should have that mind of asking question, So, but the question, whatever you're asking, should be very correct. It's called valid question or a reliability, reliable question, something like that. So, would you like to have a coffee sometime? If I ask a question and it's important for me to write with me. So, the format of a question should be such that it should be very clear and specific. Would you like to have coffee sometime with me? So this is what I'm going to tell you, how to frame a question, how to make a questionnaire. Okay. So it's designing quick fix for research, questionnaire designing. I'm Dr. Vinit Vinay. And most important thing, a questionnaire is a research instrument. It's an instrument, like you have a BP apparatus, or you have a thermometer, or if you have a electron microscope or an optical microscope or any instrument. Questionnaire is similar to that instrument. Now, if you want an opinion regarding some topic, for an example, if you want to question somebody, what do you think about this COVID pandemic? If you want an information, you cannot use an instrument. You have to take a questionnaire, right? You have to ask him as a question. What do you think? Do you feel any stress during this COVID pandemic? So questionnaire itself becomes an instrument. So research instrument consisting of series of questions and other prompts is a questionnaire. The purpose of gathering information from respondent. So if I want to know your name, I will ask you, right? What is your name? I cannot use an instrument in your mouth and then find out your name. No, I can't do that. So questionnaire becomes a instrument to gather information from the respondent. So according to Bauman and Fisher, it is a measurement instrument for assessing individuals' attitudes, beliefs, behavior, or attributes beside clinical research. So if you want somebody's behavior, if you want to know somebody's belief, somebody's opinion or attitude, you can do it by using a questionnaire. Questionnaire is nothing but a series of questions and prompts. What is the advantage of a questionnaire? Impersonality, most important thing. You will exactly get whatever the patient is, what the patient is. It's about him. It will cover most of the population. You make a questionnaire, get a Xerox done, or nowadays it's a social media or put up in online questionnaire, and you can ask that question, those questions from anybody in the world. So it will cover a larger population and it requires less time. People can immediately give response if they want. If they don't want, they'll not give. That's a different story. But it is also relatively economical because you just have to make an online form. You just have to make a questionnaire in a hard copy. Hardly it will cost you a Xerox, 1 rupee or 2 rupee for Xerox. And response anonymity is there. You don't have to mention the name, or if the person doesn't want to give his name, it's not necessary for him to give the name. And you will not know who is answering that, but of course you are getting the response. So these are the advantages of a questionnaire. So there are various, when you have to decide when you are going to use that questionnaire. Is questionnaire optimal method for that particular research? Now, if you want to find out the effectiveness of a mouthwash, or if you want to find out which obturation material is better, you cannot take up a questionnaire. You have to do a randomized control trial. So there you will not have a questionnaire. But if you want to find somebody's opinion or knowledge or attitude or belief or practice regarding something, you can very well use a questionnaire. So what study characteristics are you interested in studying? That is important for you. Then only you can decide to use a questionnaire. You have to understand the literacy level and the comprehension level of respondent. Now, you cannot give a questionnaire to a population in Maharashtra who do not know English. You cannot give an English questionnaire. You have to give it in a local language. You have to give it in Marathi. You have to convert that questionnaire into Marathi and then give it to the population. So you have to understand the literacy level. You have to understand the comprehension level. Now, you know what is MTP. It's medical termination of pregnancy. And there is another layman term, abortion. So if you write MTP in the questionnaire, probably the person will not be able to understand that. So you have to understand the literacy level and the comprehension level of the respondent. And you have to be very careful when you are addressing social, cultural, or religious issues. Okay, so you have to be careful in writing a questionnaire regarding social, cultural, and religious issues. It's better not to deal with those topics when you are doing a questionnaire. This might hurt the participant or the respondent. Okay. Now, when you are doing a questionnaire study or when you are doing a research which involves questionnaire, there are various instruments or these questionnaires are already there probably. Okay, so you can use that existing instrument, existing questionnaire. Like somebody else would have done a study earlier on the same topic. You can use his questionnaire. Of course, you have to quote him. You have to give him the reference. Okay. Or you can modify that existing questionnaire. You can do some modification and then you can use it. Or you can design a complete new questionnaire. So you can do any of these things. Fair enough? Okay. Now, there are certain rules for designing a questionnaire. Okay. First, number of variables you want to include and measure. You have to determine how many questions should be there. What are the types of questionnaire you are going to use? What are the different sections of the questionnaire you are going to have? You have to decide all these things before you develop a questionnaire.
So your voice is breaking.
Is it breaking again? Is it fine?
Yeah.
Is it breaking or it's not audible at all?
It's breaking.
Okay, it's fine now?
Yeah.
Okay. Next, the language. Your questionnaire should have the language of the questionnaire should be very clear and unambiguous. It should not be pointing both the sides. Okay. The questions must be short, simple, and clear. And you have to determine the method of processing the data or the response which you are getting. You have to determine very much in the beginning, how you are going to assess that questionnaire. These are few rules of designing a questionnaire. Okay. Steps. Now, first important step, as I told you before, you have to develop a research question or a hypothesis. Next, is questionnaire the best method? Or what type of questionnaire is needed for the purpose? You have to prepare the content area. Then you have to formulate the questions. Then you are, after these 4 activities, 4 steps, you have to formulate the questionnaire. Place the questions in order. Now you cannot ask all the question and then you will ask him what is your name. What is your name should come in the beginning. What is your gender, age, education, qualification, all these things will come in the beginning. And then your important questions. Yes, some questions are very sensitive. So you have to, you cannot put it right from the beginning, you know. For an example, how many kids you have? And then the second question you will say, are you married? So you cannot do that. First you have to ask him, are you married? And then you will ask him how many kids you have. Okay. So you have to understand how to place the question. And then you have to format the questionnaire. There should be border, bold, wherever required, it should be written in bold or in a capital format or something like that. You have to format the question. You have to give page numbers to the questionnaire and all those things. You have to give some, please take appropriate response, something guideline, some note you have to write it down. So that is called as formatting the questionnaire. And then you pilot test the questionnaire. So if you are doing a questionnaire on rural population, or if you are doing a questionnaire on pregnant women, you have to do a pilot testing. So there is a number of participants. You are supposed to do a pilot testing of the questionnaire. See if they can understand the questionnaire or not. See if the questionnaire are valid or it is reliable. And then only you can go for a larger study. You know? And then check for the validity and reliability. During the pilot testing also, you can check the validity as well as reliability of a questionnaire. Now, there are various types of questionnaire. First, structured, unstructured, and the third one is adaptive or tailored. Structured means you have a different sections for questionnaire. For an example, if I want to do a study, my first question will be on demographic status of the participants. Name, age, gender, educational qualification, occupational qualification, and all those things. Then the second set of questions will be on tobacco smoking probably. So first question will be what type of tobacco do you smoke? How many times do you smoke? Since when you are smoking and all those things. Third can be another group of questions on oral hygiene habits. Do you brush? How many times do you brush? Do you floss? Do you use any other interdental aids or something like that? So this type of questionnaire is called as structure. But if you don't have any sections, if you don't have any headings, if you don't have any subheadings, it becomes an unstructured. So questions can be just 1 to 10. These are the questions. That's all. Simple. It's not structured. So that is called as unstructured questionnaires. Then there are certain questionnaires which are adaptive or tailored questionnaire. For an example, if I'm asking a patient, do you smoke? If yes, go to question number 2. If you do not smoke, go to question number 10. So that is called as adaptive or tailored questionnaire. You can adapt or tailor according to your requirements. So these are the 3 types of questionnaires: structured, unstructured, and adaptive or tailored questionnaire. Then there are types of questions. There are various types of questions. So for an example, the first type will be screen. Screen is to, there will be a question just to screen the participants. For an example, do you smoke? If yes, do the fill the rest of the questions. If no, you can quit. Okay, so that is a screening. A question called as screen. Then there is something called as warm-ups. You know, first we are not talking about some sensitive questions or something like that. We'll do some warm-ups. Like for an example, if there is a questionnaire on a child abuse, imagine you are doing a study on child abuse. So you cannot directly ask him, does your father hit you or your mother hits you? You can just start with something simple like, what is your name? Do you like cartoon characters? Or who is your favorite cartoon character? Or what do you like to play? Something like that. It's called as warm-ups. And then you gradually, when you develop a rapport, you can go to the main question. So that is called as warm-ups. Another type is transition. Transition means if from one question, they can go to some other question. That is a transition. So for an example, if you are asking a questionnaire from a pregnant woman, yeah, you know, in what trimester of pregnancy you are in. So if you are saying first trimester, go to question number 4. So there is a transition. So these type of questions are called as transition. Skips means you can skip those questions. If you give the questionnaire to somebody and skip those questions, like for an example, do you smoke? So skip, right in the below, if yes, skip question number 3, 4, 5, and then go to question number 6, something like that. So that is called as skips. Another one is called as difficult. Now try and place difficult questions at the end. When you develop the rapport, any difficult or sensitive questions, put it up at the end. And then comes the classification. Now any question which classifies individual is called as classification questions, type of questionnaire, questions which classifies. For an example, are you a smoker? So it will directly classify that the following questions will be only for the smokers. And are you a previous smoker? Stop quitting, but previous smoker. Then they will go to the another question, which is for previous smokers. So there are questions which can classify classify the characteristics of the respondents. So I told you all these things: screens, warm-ups, transitions, skips, difficult, and classification. Now, there is a flow of a questionnaire. It should be general in the beginning, then go to specific, and then you come down to really specific question. Okay, this flow should be there ideally. Now, coming to the questions, what are the different types of questions? The first type is open format and the closed format. If I give you options that you have to mark it within these 3 options, like before this presentation, there were some questions by Dr. Denzi. So he had given you options, 3 or 4 options. So that is called as closed format. You have options. You can only answer out of these. But there are certain questions which are open format. They will not give you an option. You can write whatever you want. For an example, if I ask you how's the webinar going on, or how is my lecture, my topic going on, or how was my lecture in the morning or yesterday and all. If I just give you open line, you write something, whatever you want, then you can write whatever you want. You can write bahut acha, mind blowing, awesome, bakwas, matlab time pass, and all those things, whatever you can write. But if I give you an option, how was my lecture? Then if I give you option, excellent, mind blowing, wonderful, amazing. If I give you 4 options, you are not going to give me any negative response. So that type of questionnaire is called as closed format. And then comes structured and unstructured, which I already told you. Now, closed format can have multiple choice questions also, and can have only 2 options, yes or no. Okay. I gave you an example of an open-ended question. It gives the freedom to the respondent. No options are provided. Respondent is not influenced by any specific alternatives. What happened when you met your dentist for the first time? Why are there rings on Saturn? So the student can write anything. Because God liked it, so he put a ring on it. So these are open-ended questions. They don't give any options in here. There are certain advantages of open format, free to answer, and a chance of vivid expression, open-ended. But the disadvantage is read and think individually. Tabulation is not automatic and influential on the reader, and it's boring to the interview. So that is why with some places we do not give open format questionnaire. I gave you an example of close-ended questions. How do you feel waiting for a dentist call for extraction of your tooth outside in a common waiting room? I give an option: very anxious, moderately anxious, slightly anxious, and not anxious. So you give the options to the participants so that they can respond. They can respond any of these 4 options. They can give any of these 4 responses. Okay. The closed-ended can again be of 2 types. It can be ordered or unordered. For an example, how important were the people, following people in helping you to decide nursing as a profession or dentistry as a profession? Okay, am I Okay, am I audible, guys?
No, sir.
Am I audible?
So your voice is breaking.
My voice is 1 second. I'll just rectify this. Okay, is it visible now? Am I audible now?
Yes, sir.
Perfectly fine.
Yes, sir.
Okay. So we have close-ended questionnaires which are ordered, and we have close-ended questionnaires which are unordered. If you see the options, you will understand. I'll give you option of relative, nurse, or a friend, not important, important, relatively important, and very important. They can mark any of the option. But unordered, who is the most important person to help in helping you to decide on nursing or a dentist as a profession or dentistry as a profession? So they have to give only one option, the relative or the nurse or the dentist or a friend. And then there are partially closed-ended. Who was the most important person in helping you decide nursing as a profession? A relative, your nurse, a friend, or other. Other, we give, please specify. So it becomes a partially closed-ended. We give you option to write in others. Okay. So there are various advantages and disadvantages of a closed format. Easy to answer, quick and not boring, and easy to compute results. Disadvantage are not much involvement, hardly any thinking, and no place for expression. Then there are pre-coded single choice question. You can see there are codes 1, 2, 3, 4. These are pre-coded questionnaires. First year BSc, second year BSc, third year BSc, and fourth year BSc. 1, 2, 3, 4 other codes given. And then there is presence and absence. How have you ever had contact with a physically handicapped person in any of these groups? So they can give yes and no, present and absent. So this is a kind of a questionnaire which says presence and absence. Then you have a rank ordering questions. So for an example, place one beside the most important one, and 2 beside the second most important one, and 3 beside the third next most important one. The question is, rank order the 3 most important characteristics you want in a job you make your life work. So it can be a high salary, security, continued interest, power, prestige, and excitement. So if you ask me, for me, 1, 2, 3 is high salary. You know, there is no security, there is no interest at all, no power, no prestige, and no excitement. So for me, both all 1, 2, 3 is high salary. So anyway, it's called as rank ordering questions. Okay, now coming to patterns of a questionnaire. The questionnaires can be in 3 patterns. Okay. The first one is funnel pattern, you know, something like this, funnel. It is like this. And the second one is inverse funnel. And the third one is tunnel, which is constant. So funnel means from a broader diameter, it is coming down to the smaller diameter. Inverse means from a smaller, it is coming down to the broader. And tunnel means it is constant in all the level, be it top or bottom, whatever. What does it mean? So first, if you have funnel pattern means open, first few questions will be open-ended. You know, people can give whatever response to develop a rapport, and later it will come down to close-ended. Fair enough? But the next one will be inverse funnel. Initially, it will be close-ended, and later it will come down to the open-ended question. That is called as inverse funnel. And the tunnel is constant. Either it will be close-ended or open-ended. So these are the 3 patterns of a questionnaire. Okay. Now preparing the content area, I told you have to prepare the content area. Content has to be has to be carefully constructed, what you are going to include in the questionnaire. The method of deciding content is through literature, through advices, through brainstorming sessions, through focus group discussion, and talk to the experts. From there only you can develop the content of a questionnaire. So you look into the literature, previous literature, if there is anything done, or you can go for a discussion. You can talk to your teammates, talk to your experts, talk to your guides, and develop a questionnaire. That is the content area of a questionnaire. Then formulate the questions. This is important. And now you are going to formulate the questions. What? So you have to understand, keep the questions in a different domain. For an example, first, safety domain, safety aspects. So under each domain, you will have options, whether it's very safe, moderately safe, safe, or unsafe. And then come to the cost, or come to ease of use, or come to cultural acceptability. So you have different domains in your content area. Like I told you, first demographic status, then comes tobacco status, or tobacco related history. Then comes dietary status, then any other medical problem, something like that. So you are making a content area with the domains, different domains in there. So that is how you formulate the questions. Whenever you select the items means individual questions here. You have to know the reading level of the respondents. If they are able to read the questionnaire, if it is in English, you should have, if the participants are able to read in English, you give them an English questionnaire. If you are able to read in the regional language, give them that. Ambiguity of the items. The questionnaire should be unambiguous. You should not be ambiguity. There should not be any ambiguity in the questionnaire. Possible of personal and cultural reinterpretation. You have to understand, it should not, there should not be any question should not be there which can people take otherwise in a personal or a cultural sense. Presence of any double-barreled questionnaire. Now, don't ask double-barreled questions in one question itself. Now, for an example, if I ask everybody, if I ask you, whom do you like, Priyanka and Deepika? Priyanka Chopra and Deepika Padukone. So this is a double-barrel question. Probably I like Priyanka, but I don't like Deepika, or I like Deepika, I don't like Priyanka. Fair enough. So this is called as double-barrel questions. And any unfamiliar term, if the participants are not familiar, if you are asking somebody, did you take remdesivir injection? Now, if the patient doesn't know, he will feel vaccine injection or something like that. So if he is unfamiliar with that term, he will not be able to answer. And don't ask embarrassing, judgmental, or insulting questions. This is very important. If you ask something like that, then the patient is not going to give you any other response. So it's better not to ask. So another example of a double-barrel question, how is the taste and appearance of our pancakes? So better questions will be, please rate the taste of our pancakes. Please rate the appearance of our pancakes. So these are two different questions you're supposed to make. Don't use a double-barrel question, because everybody sees from a different angle. So the question should not be confusing for them. It should be very clear and specific. Questions to be avoided when you are making a questionnaire: ambiguous. Is your work made more difficult because you are expecting a baby? So this is an unambiguous question. You should not use such questions. Or vague words. How often do you exercise? Regularly or occasionally? Now, for some people, occasionally is regularly. So try not to use something like that. You can ask very well, once in a day, or twice in a week, or thrice in a month, or something like that. Don't ask any leading questions. Do you do physical exercise such as cycling? Now, if he's not doing cycling, but he's gymming, or he's swimming or something like that, just question should be, do you do any form of a physical exercise? Yes or no. Don't give leading like cycling. Okay, probably he's not doing cycling. Okay, and sensitive questions. How old are you? So these are certain questions which can be sensitive for some people. So your questions should be simple, unambiguous, clear, and concise. Now, So imagine if you are a question, you have a questionnaire in English, you have to translate that questionnaire in your regional language, and then you have to back translate it again in English. Remember this. If you are planning to use somebody else's questionnaire, which is already been used, it is used in English or Hindi or whatever, translate in that regional language if you are using for participants of your region. Okay. And then do the back translation also to check whether both the English versions are similar. That is called as language translation. You have to format the questionnaire. I told you initially, give the page number, font size should be clear, adequate instruction should be given. Please circle the appropriate response. Please tick the appropriate response, something like that. And it should be simple and clear. So this is an example I like to give you. Put up some box or, give a line or write 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So it becomes easy for them. So this is a formatting of a questionnaire. Okay. And when you are using an open-ended items, give them a space to write. Don't give them very less space and don't give them too much of space also. You can use symbols in your questionnaires. Okay. I told you about pilot testing. The main objective, a well-designed questionnaire should meet the objective of a research, obtain the most complete and accurate information, do the job with the available time and resources, and be cross-culturally valid. The questionnaire which you are formulating should be cross-culturally valid. It should be applicable to any culture, any state, or any country in the world. So try and make a very well-designed questionnaire. How do you administer a questionnaire? Either by personally, give the questionnaire personally, or mail. You can post it, not email. First post it. Either you can post it, and then nowadays we are using emails to post. Okay. So any of these. So postal mails can be done, emails can be done. How to administer questionnaire? Either you give the questionnaire or you ask questions by keeping the questionnaire. If you ask questions and not giving the questionnaire to the participants, it is called as interviewer administered. It means interviewer is asking the questions. Self-administered means you just give the questionnaire to the patient and tell them, please fill the form. And there can be telephone administered also. Patient can, the researcher or the investigator can call up the patient and ask. And nowadays we have internet administered or online questionnaire, like the feedback form which you are doing for us. Now, last, coming to the validity and reliability of the questionnaire. Ability of an instrument to measure what is intended to measure is called as validity. A thermometer is valid to measure temperature. Remember this. That is why it is called as a valid instrument. The thermometer is a valid instrument for measuring temperature. A questionnaire should be valid. If you have a questionnaire on smoking, it should be a valid questionnaire for smoking, right? So that is a concept of validity. It should measure what it is intended to measure. I'm not going to go deep into the types of validity. This is content validity, criterion validity, and construct validity. Probably ma'am will take tomorrow on these topics. Content validity means the content of the whole questionnaire, whether it's valid or not. Face validity, just by looking at the questionnaire, you should understand the question is what the question is all about, whether it's about smoking or a dietary habit or what it is. Criterion validity, you have to understand whether your questionnaire is based on criteria, a measuring instrument, whether it's based on predictive or a concurrent thing. Okay. So goals, you have to compare your questionnaire with the gold standard questionnaire. That is how you compare for the criterion validity of a questionnaire. Okay, all these things will be covered, I guess, tomorrow by ma'am. And construct means how the questionnaire has what is the flow of the questionnaire. Everything is properly written, not the content, but the construct, the flow, the method of writing and all those things, it's called as construct validity. So panel of experts, they do the construct validity. Your seniors, your staff members, your HOD, your guide, your senior faculties can do the construct validity. Coming to reliability, reliability means if I am measuring I'm getting some information today, the same information I should get tomorrow also using that particular instrument. For an example, if I have fever, the thermometer correctly should say I have fever now also, and if I have fever tomorrow also, I should say I have fever. So it's an ability of an instrument to create reproducible results. Reproducibility. So you can rely on it. For an example, you can rely on your guide, on your friends, right? If you ask them any help, they will help you all the time, whenever you can, whenever you are asking for help. It means you are reliable. The friends are reliable too. Okay. If you get same and similar answers repeatedly, it is called as reliable. Though it cannot be calculated exactly, it can be measured by estimating correlation coefficient. This is a statistical method to measure reliability. So there are various types of reliability again, which I guess ma'am will take. If you have any doubt, you can ask me also whenever you want. So at the end, we have some bias in questionnaire, a lot of bias in a questionnaire designing. For an example, no saying and yes saying. Some people have a habit of saying no for each and everything. Some people are having have a habit of saying yes for everything. Do you smoke? Yes. How many times do you smoke? Yes. All those things. So that is one kind of a bias. Some people have a response fatigue. So now, if I give you 50 questions to respond, probably you will be tired by the time you finish 10 or 15 questions. So at the end, you will just give whatever you feel like. So that is response fatigue. End aversion. Some people have a habit of neglecting the last options. In the exams also you would have done, when you have a MCQ, I think last wala nahi hoga, I think only first or second mein hoga, So that is called as end aversion. Some people, respond based on your satisfaction. If they get positive satisfaction after giving response, then they will mark that. So for an example, if I say I don't smoke, even though he's smoking, it will give him a positive satisfaction. So he will tick, no, I don't smoke. Faking bad. Some people have a habit of faking bad. When male participants come to you and the researcher is also a male, he will try to show he's very bad. He's very, very wild kind of a person. So how many times do you smoke? Sir, I smoke 100 times in a day. So that is called as faking bad. But same patient, if the researcher is a female and she asks, how many times do you smoke? No, madam, I never smoke. आज तक मैंने स्मोक नहीं किया, आज तक मैंने गुटखा नहीं खाया है. So that is faking good. Fair enough. Some bias can be because of unacceptable disease. People feel that these diseases are unacceptable. Like for an example, some people, आपको डेंगू हुआ है क्या? So they will feel नहीं, डेंगू नहीं होता है, मुझे बड़ी बीमारी होती है. मुझे डायबिटीज हो जाएगा, लेकिन डेंगू नहीं होता है मुझे. Some people, they have a habit that they will respond no to that because the disease is unacceptable. Or some people have a habit of unacceptable exposure also. Do you live nearby some garbage area or something like that? They will say, no, I don't live nearby garbage area. I live in a posh area, something like that. And then there are bias because of cultural differences and technical jargons. Fair enough. Now, in a nutshell, I would like to say a questionnaire can be reliable but invalid, but a valid questionnaire is always reliable. Okay. So keep these in your mind. Ask only necessary background questions. Avoid sensitive and embarrassing questions. Keep questions simple and straightforward. And do not ask questions that turns off the participant's spirit. These are few references. If you want, you can go up looking for the questionnaires designing when you are planning.